Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the September 7th meeting of the Finance Committee. I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum, have everyone in present. So Chair will entertain a motion for approval of the agenda unless there are some additions or deletions.
I'd like to add one thing to the agenda that I hope is quick. I'd like to add a quarterly budget update discussion. I know that when I joined the board, it was kind of unclear. It's mostly just to get quarterly budget updates so that you compare them to budget so we have some idea where we are in the year. But I'd like to add that to the agenda.
We'll add that as item 5. And then could I have a motion for the agenda as amended?
I so move.
Second.
Second, and all in favor? All right, okay. Number 3, approval of minutes from our last meeting. Hard to believe it's way back in November. If there are any changes or deletions or questions.
May.
What did I say, November? May?
May.
Sorry.
I have a couple things.
May 2nd.
May 2nd. Did we, I think it's missing the discussion on activity buses. I thought we had a discussion because I'm pretty sure the SPIT committee referred it to the finance committee. And then it got brought up at the full board, but I don't know for sure. I had a note that we did.
I honestly do not recall.
You don't remember that? Okay, that's fine then. In the iPads, I don't remember voting on the iPads and then Dr. Houlihan telling us later on that he was going to reduce the capital outlay request. We didn't vote to do the iPads at 1.3 million and then a couple minutes later he reduced the request. This is the 2 million one for technology to $1.7 million is the $1 million from the iPads. So
but that's how it came out of SPIT committee, and I think that's what that section was, how it came out of that committee. But then we made a reduction. That's how it was discussed in the SPIT committee.
I don't remember voting, but okay, if we say we did, then I'll leave it. I didn't think.
That meeting moved kind of quick, so.
Right. I don't think I would have voted for it, and I don't think I would have made the motion to approve it. That's all I just. It's not videotaped, that's the problem, because
It's just notes.
it's just notes. I don't think, I wouldn't have made that motion. Because we knew we were reducing it.
Well, see, I'm on the SPIT, so I'm confused. Like,
Right.
I approved
To run
it
together.
because
Does anyone
I
remember?
remember.
No, because you guys are both on spit.
May.
yeah, I'm like I remember approving, but I don't know.
I thought what I remembered was we had the original proposal and then we had the conversations about reducing or trying to find the funding from a different project and capital to cover it. And then we went to the SPIT committee with the reduction the time later. So I thought it came here. We had a discussion, then it went to the SPIT at the reduced price.
It didn't go back at the reduced price. So it came to finance the day we approved the budget as a whole. I remember that. And I remember talking that it came out of SPIT to ask for the 1.33 million for the iPads. But at that point, I thought you told us, I'm going to reduce that from 2 million one to $1.07 million for technology. And that $1 million reduction is I'm not going to do the iPads this year. I'm just going to go with the 333 for iPads and I'll buy what I can with them. And I think that's what we voted on, not the whole 1.3 million.
So
And we didn't go back to
the motion piece needs to be
changed.
in that section
Yes.
as opposed
Right.
to discussion.
And then we approved the budget as a whole, amended budget as a whole, and we went into the full board. So it never went back to SPIT.
So that approval section needs to move.
Right.
Okay.
That's what I remember.
Okay, that's fine.
All right.
I know it's hard to, we had the same thing in policy. It's hard to go back and remember what happened that many months ago.
Especially when I know
Yeah,
I approved it
Right,
with
you were,
SPIT.
right.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve as amended?
I so move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved as amended. Item 4, budget adoption. I'll turn that over to you, Dennis.
Thank you, sir. Before you all, you have a PowerPoint presentation that I'm gonna walk you through on the budget, and then we'll go through the actual resolution that you also should have received. So I'm gonna walk you through the PowerPoint first. We're gonna talk about the 2018 funding, the budget focus while we were putting the budget together, and then I will walk you through the budget resolution. The 2018 funding. I hope you all received this slide. It was an update from when you got the first presentation. It's the differences from proposed appropriation to our adopted appropriation. Total budget for adoption is 446 million as opposed to what we propose of 436 million for a $9 million increase. And the changes are out to the right, as I will walk you through most of those changes. On the state side, the $400,000 is your sales tax refund from prior year. The 1.2 million on the local side is the fund balance that we set aside for prior year purchase orders.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Of
Really
course.
fast, sales tax. Sorry, should I wait till the end?
No,
Sales tax. So we pay sales tax as an entity, and then we go back to the state every 6
the
months. and
state
get-
does an audit,
Okay,
and once they clear the audit of the sales taxes that we pay, they give us a refund.
that's what I thought. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All the pieces of the sales tax,
From the state side.
local and state side as
From the
well.
state side.
Okay.
Do we get it all back? Sometimes they
No.
have if it's an out of state vendor, sometimes they get wonky about qualified vendors and stuff like that. But you get
You get
a
the
large
validated
portion of
state
validated,
tax
right?
back. Yes. You see the large reduction, or large difference on the federal side. That's mainly due that we can't approve the Title I, Title II, Title III, and 6B until the federal government sends us.
Ms. Hines was asking a question when you were talking about the second one.
The local?
No, it's fine. Go back to the local real quick.
The 1.2 million is fund balance appropriation that we have to set aside for purchase orders that were still open when we closed last year.
So they're already spoken for, so.
Yes.
So to speak. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving to the federal 14 million reduction. That number will increase once we get the, like I said, the Title I, Title II, Title III, and 6B federal grants approved by DPI. I will bring back an amendment to you guys where we will increase our budget with whatever those totals are. Right now, Title II is about 7 million. Title I is 7 million. Title II is about 1.1 million. And Title III is about 600,000. And EC is about 11.5 million. So once those get approved, we bring those back as an amendment.
You said Title III is 600,000? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay.
So that'll be more than the 14.5 that we had
Yes.
originally?
We got about 20 million that's not reflected here that we're waiting to get approval from the state. Title I is right at 7 million. Title II is 1.1 million. Title III is 600,000. And 6B is about 11.5 million. The 21 million on capital is broken out to several portions. First, our capital outlay for 17-18 that was in the approved budget. The proposed budget was 18.5 million. And remember, we took a $3 million reduction over to the county and they approved it. So that was a reduction. We had to add in prior year capital that we brought forward. That was 16.5 million. Then we had to add the bond appropriation into the proposed and adopted because it was not presented during the budget process for the bond portion of capital. But that increased by $5.9 million due to we got an advance last year for the 17-18 year for the soft work that we need to get started. Then we added the state buses. We got 11 buses from the state that we're replacing for 1.2 million, and the 4 activity buses for 382,000, and that makes up the difference of the 21 million.
So we include capital outlay stuff that's from prior years that hasn't been completed yet? Is that?
Yes, you have to adopt it again because
You
it goes
adopt
back
it
on our
again,
books.
even though, I guess the word that threw me off was appropriated, because it was appropriated in prior years. We're just not using it till this
But
year.
if you bring it back, you have to reappropriate it. Yes.
Reappropriate it. Thank
Yes.
you.
In my business, they call it incurred. Is that
Yes.
fair?
Same thing.
Okay.
The child nutrition after school basically increases due to the benefit changes. And the special revenue, that increases for prior year anticipation for Medicaid for about 500,000. We would get that difference. And our indirect costs went up by $1.2 million. Yes. We will receive hopefully about $541,000 this year in our Medicaid reimbursements. And that covers the difference from proposed to adopted. The next series of slides just shows a series of graphs on how the budget is laid out as far as instructional total budget. As you can see, we have 58% of the budget for the school system is instructional, and that's where it should be. Most of your dollars should go for the instruction of kids. So that's about 259 million. At 58%. The system-wide support is central office support of instruction. That's 16%. That's about 72 million.
Since instructional is the biggest piece of that,
Yes, sir.
beyond teacher salaries, help me with what funding, what areas are
It's
included in that?
anything to do with instruction in the classroom, from EC, CTE, guidance counselors, media specialists, anything at the school dealing with instruction, not just classroom. So
Textbooks, supplies.
supplies, salaries, all of that.
How about electricity to keep the
No,
building going?
electricity is down in your
It's-
systems-wide support.
Okay, system-wide support.
Yes.
Okay.
The next is a total budget by object code. And as you can see, if you add employees' benefits and salaries, it's $295 million of our total budget is for salaries and benefits, 66%. And again, that should be the case because we are a labor-intensive career. The next biggest portion is that purchase services and capital outlay. Of the purchase services is $27 million, and 20 million of that is utilities for the district.
We pay $20 million a year in utilities, gas, sewer, water, electricity.
Yes, sir.
Equals $20 million.
That's the budget. Yes, sir. The next graph is the state budget by object code. And as you can see, you'll see a series and a theme through these next slides that most of these, the dollars that come to the district is to pay for salaries and benefits. So of the state, 97% of the money that we get from the state pays salaries and benefits. So that's about 224 million. On the local budget side, 62% of the local money is tied to salaries and benefits. So of the 98.9 million, 61.3 million of that pays salaries and benefits. Then we have the purchase services line and supplies and materials. And down at, you see the capital outlay is less than 1% of this county local budget. And the transfers includes the 7.9 million for charter schools. Moving on to the federal budget. Again, you see salaries and benefits. This is just the first portion of the ones that we have approved already, and that is the CTE budget, and I can't remember the second one. School nutrition piece. That's why when we load the Title I, Title II, and Title III, most of those dollars will be in salaries and benefits. On the school nutrition side, of course, most of their money is in salaries and benefits and the purchase of food and supplies and materials. After school, same thing. It's totally mainly salaries and benefits, supplies and materials. At those percentages as shown on the graph. Now special revenue, again, it's 47% is salaries and benefits. And we have a large portion for purchase services, about $3.3 million. The next slide shows our just county appropriations. So I make sure that we all know that we requested $94.5 million from the county. We got a $2.4 million increase. So our county appropriation is the 96.9. That's not our local budget. That's just the county piece of our local budget. And you'll see in the resolution what makes up the rest of the county, the local budget. This slide depicts what our capital and bond appropriations are for next year. There was really not a change except for we reduced the capital piece by the $3 million.
And the bond adds up to 47.4.
And then they gave us about 5.6 for the South.
Which
Yes.
all of which we haven't paid yet, right? Or we have not.
No, we
That's
have
what I
not
thought.
paid it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a lot encumbered. Thank you.
Correct. Next, I just want to remind you all, as you was putting your budget together last spring, what the focus and priorities of putting the budget was while we was doing it was on academic programming, human capital development, and continuous organization improvement. On the academic programming, we focused on literacy, college and career readiness, dual language, and our one-on-one teaching and learning strategy. The human capital was on recruitment and retention and compensation. Our continuous organization improvement was on improving student performance, strategic planning process, and our organization efficiencies and effectiveness. And that's how, when we went through the budget reduction, we reviewed those programs to see if we can actually make cuts in order to fund some of the initiatives that the superintendent wanted to fund. And that concludes the slide presentation, unless you have some questions. If not, I'll walk you through the resolution.
Any questions for Dennis?
Okay, the actual resolution, as you know by law, we have to adopt the resolution by purpose function code. And so what you'll have before you is each funding source. And that's not up on the screen, but you should have a copy in front of you. So you have to adopt the budget by source and by program report code. So you will see on the left-hand side, you see the categories of all the purpose codes, the dollars associated with them, and get to the totals that you saw on this slide presentation. So the state budget is $228.9 million broken out in those funding sources. As you can see, most of the money is in 5100, instructional services.
Mm-hmm.
Then you see the main big number below that in support services is the 24.9 million. That's for custodians, transportation, and some bus monitors at EC. That makes up the 24 million. Behind each slide that has the numbers, you're gonna find two graphs. One of the graphs you saw in the slide presentation, then we added the graph on the by purpose. And as you can see, the graph should dictate what's on the previous page on the numbers. So by purpose for the state funds, 88% of the money is in instructional services. The rest of the money is in system-wide, very small amount in auxiliary services and non-program changes. And the budget slide was part of the PowerPoint presentation. Next, you move to page 3, where you see the local funding. And if I direct you to the bottom, you will see where the county piece of the appropriation was the 96 million that we previously talked about. The remaining of the money is fines and forfeitures, ABC revenues, and that restricted fund balance to get us to the $98.8 million. And following that, you see the slides that dictates those numbers in a pretty presentation for you. Turning on to page 5, you get to our federal grants. And as you can see, that's only the grants that has been approved, the 486,000. We still will get the Title I, Title II, Title III, and EC. Those should hopefully be approved by the feds in October. And then we will bring back amendments once those are approved. So you will see those in our budget.
Dennis,
Yes, sir.
interrupt you for a second. You mentioned approved by the feds in October. I assume that's involving the raising of the debt ceiling in order to
Yes.
have an ongoing budget. Let's just play devil's advocate. What happens if that doesn't move forward and we're stuck? How do we cover between the start of school and whenever those funds are actually given to? So we're basically working on borrowed money until those federal funds come in,
What
correct?
should happen is that the president should issue a continuing resolution authority
Mhm.
that allows you to spend up to the levels you were spending the year before, but you
Okay.
can't start anything new. Like
Okay.
you should be able to continue paying your people unless we get to a shutdown of the government, and then your federal people would have to go home.
Okay. Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
Let's avoid that.
Well, yes, let's hope that we don't get to that. And so page 6 and 7 are just the graphs of the federal and capital funds. Turning on to page 8, you will see school nutrition and after school. Most of the funds from school nutrition comes from sales and subsidies. As you see, the 9.594 is from subsidies, and sales is about 6.7 million to support the child nutrition program. And the after school, as you know, is totally fee-based, and it's about $4.6 million for fee-based. And that's how we break out the expenditures of those funds, followed by the graphs that depicts those numbers for child nutrition and after school. Then we get to the special revenue number. Again, these are dollars that other than county that comes to the district for such things as indirect cost, tuition, out of county tuition. And we use those funds for several things that's outlined in those instructional programs. And it comes to about 7.9 million, which was depicted on the total budget page. And you find the graphs that associate with those numbers. And then you get to the one that's all funds, total budget, with the 2 graphs by purpose and object code. And finally, the last page of the amendment is the guidance and guidelines that we use to monitor and manage the budget throughout the year about when we bring amendments and things to you guys to approve. Mr. Chair, that is the budget resolution that we propose to go to the general board for adoption. Any
So
questions?
the total figure you'd have down here, the 446 million, does not include the Title I, II, III EC funding. And you're estimating approximately how much that will be, about, did you
20
say
million.
about 20?
Yes, sir, about $20 million.
So when it's all said and done, we're going to have a total all-in local, state, federal budget of some 466 million.
Yes, sir.
Will that be down or up from the previous year?
That's up. We have 400 and I would have to get back with you
Okay.
on that one. It's up from the proposed budget.
Right.
But I don't know if it's up from the previous year's budget.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the committee? If no other questions, Chair will entertain a motion to recommend the budget out to the full board for a positive vote.
So moved.
Have a motion? Looking for a second.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Item number 5, quarterly budget updates.
Would just like to discuss getting quarterly budget updates with actual to budget. Both federal, state, and local money. That's all.
Especially when the title money hits.
We'll be happy to do that. I would recommend that at maybe the next finance committee meeting, let's bring a template to you all that you can see to make sure that we're on the same page. And then we'll quarter that out 4 times during the year. No problem.
That would be awesome. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can we forecast the spend too, so we can see how we're tracking? Or no? I mean, that's something that's.
That would be very difficult because we don't have spend plans throughout the district. So I don't know when each department, like if they got a major contract, I don't know if that contract is to be let in the spring or late June. That's a little complex budgeting.
With the differences, though, you'd be able to explain that we may be waiting on some different things.
Yes.
So we get the beginning of fourth quarter, we're either already spent or,
Income, yeah.
I'm sorry. I just don't want to get to fourth quarter and we're either already spent or have this huge balance, right? So I'd like to at least be able to see somewhat how we're going to forecast out. Is it going to be equal by quarter or
Yeah, because
just
it's
to
not.
see how we're
A lot
trending?
of
It's good
not.
though, because.
It's-
a lot
it's
of
gonna
it's
come in
not,
flow,
but it's
isn't
good
it?
To see, because we have gotten, we've gotten those, but just want to make sure it's formalized.
I think it's kind of
And
in
it-
line with the quarterly updates, right? Like you want to see how you're trending.
It'll,
towards the
it'll
budget,
say whether
but-
we spent
Right.
40%, 50%, and explain why.
Right.
He'll be able to do that.
So maybe we could look for something after the first quarter of the year. So after September, maybe October, or if October is when we think the federal money is going to hit, maybe after we get that, figure out that's going to go. We could do the kind of a first quarter plus a month update. How's that?
That's fine.
Okay. I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
When would you like to get started putting together a budget timeline? It's hard to believe we're in September.
I know we
so,
are. Adopting one and getting ready to start
I'll
another one.
I'll just lay that out there. You don't have to answer it.
Okay.
And the other thing, let's talk about the audit, selection of, or opportunity for selection of the auditing firm and the timeline for completion of the audit.
We already picked the auditing firm.
Last year we had an issue that someone came that present the audit was not actually part of the team that worked on it. So he had a difficult time really answering any questions.
I think, Mr. Sides, the firm's already been selected. We've been assured by the vendor that the
Okay.
individual that has conducted the audit and that is responsible for that will be the one present for that presentation.
I think,
Okay.
Gary, at one of our finance committee meetings, when we approved the auditing firm, we said that the condition of hiring them is that they had to have an audit partner show up at our meeting.
And an audit partner that can answer questions.
Yes, sir.
We even said audit partner that worked on our audit.
Yeah. Do you have what's the timeline? When will when will we see that audit back?
They come in October.
They come in
So-
October, and how long does it take them?
They're usually here for about 4 days,
Okay.
and then we usually have it within maybe a month or 2, or month and a half. So it's a pretty quick turnaround.
Okay.
Probably.
They
November.
presented it December.
November.
December
yeah.
last
Probably
year.
get the write-up from them in
Okay.
November and present in
November.
December.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was our first board meeting in December that we got it last year. And it was hard because, like Mr. Side said, the person that was presenting it to us was a younger person on the job and wasn't
Well, they
able to
weren't
answer a lot of
Well,
questions.
he wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't on the job. He drew the short straw and had to show up at the meeting. Okay. That's all I have, Dennis.
Okay, so,
And we'll talk about the budget timeline.
yes.
Okay, right. Any other questions for Dennis? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you.